January 1992. It's a brand new year, and based on the 18 books that I read in January of 1992, I assume I was not working as a third shift janitor at the local community college while I was laid off seasonally from my job with a bricklayer, because that's a lot of books to read in a single month. For me, anyway, so I assume I wasn't working. Let's get started because there's a lot of stuff to go through. You're going to notice a theme running through a lot of these books. So the first book I read in January 1992 is called The Peacekeepers by Jean Dewis. I have to check my notes because I don't remember a lot of these books. This is a Star Trek The Next Generation novel, and in this, LaForge and Data, Geordi LaForge and Data, are investigating an abandoned space station, and they are mysteriously transported light years away to what seems to be that same space station, but in perfect working order with lots of people. It's keeping the peace on this planet below, but conflicts are arising. The Enterprise has to find Geordi and Data. Geordi and Data have to figure shit out. You know, Star Trek stuff. All right, so that was the first book. Star Trek. Good stuff. Book number 2 is Tech War by William Shatner. This is the first in the Tech series. I believe, I could be completely wrong about this, I believe these were ghostwritten by Ron Goulart, or however you say his name, but I'm not 100% sure. Anyway, in this book, in the Tech War books, it's the 22nd century. Our main character is an ex-cop named Jake Cardigan, and he's framed for being a dealer of tech, this future drug. And he's put in cryo prison. It's supposed to be for 15 years, but he's released after 4, and he has to figure out who framed him and why he was released. And, you know, it's sci-fi, very pulp sci-fi adventure. Not bad. You know, if you just want light sci-fi. Next, tiny writing on this list. Superman at 50, The Persistence of a Legend. This is edited by Dennis Dooley and Gary Engel, and this is basically what it sounds like, a history of Superman, the fictional history, and, you know, stuff about his character and all that, as well as the real world creation of the character and how he grew. Tons of pictures in this book. Interesting stuff. Next up, Dick Tracy, The Official Biography by Jay Mader. And, excuse me, this is the same kind of thing as the previous book, only dealing with Dick Tracy. So character stuff as well as real world stuff with lots of pictures thrown in. And then Tales of the Dark Knight, Batman's First 50 Years, 1939 to 1989, by Mark Kota Vaz. And again, same as the previous 2 books, a history of Batman, character histories as well as creative histories, the changes he went through, just all sorts of Batman stuff. This is not the theme running through this that I was talking about, though, although 3 in a row. Next up, Pyramids by Terry Pratchett. This is a Discworld book. It's the 7th Discworld book, apparently. Main character is a young prince named Tepek, who becomes pharaoh after the untimely death of his father, and he's just a youngin', so he has to deal with all these pharaoh things, and doesn't know what he's doing. I know there are a lot of Terry Pratchett fans out there. I am not one of them. I was not thrilled with this book. I don't know that there's going to be another Terry Pratchett book on this list, with the exception of Good Omens, co-written with Neil Gaiman. Love that book, but was not thrilled with this. I don't know, just didn't dig it, the writing style, didn't think it was funny. I don't know. Not a fan. Then we have the one I did not need to look up, Brothers by William Goldman. This is a sequel to The Marathon Man. So, spoilers for The Marathon Man. The main character's brother is a secret agent named Scylla, and he is killed in The Marathon Man. But it turns out he was not killed. He survived. He's had reconstructive surgery. His face changed. His voice changed. He's rehabilitated, physically speaking, super trained to become a super assassin. And somehow his brother, the main character from Marathon Man, also gets involved. Not nearly as good as The Marathon Man. Marathon Man's a fantastic book. This doesn't even compare. Lots of action. It's William Goldman, it's well written, but it's not nearly as good as the first book. Then we have more small writing. Doomsday World by Carmen Carter, Peter David, Michael Jan Friedman, and Robert Greenberger. This is another Star Trek The Next Generation book. And LaForge, Data, and Worf. Make sure I'm looking at the right notes. Go down to this planet to help with an archaeological expedition, and there's conflict. People think our three heroes are terrorists. All sorts of crazy Star Trek types of shenanigans going on. 4 writers for this book. Don't know why, but there you have it. Next up, The Eyes of the Beholders by A.C. Crispin, another Star Trek The Next Generation book. And the Federation ships, Klingon ships, have been disappearing. The Enterprise investigates. They find a space graveyard with a mysterious artifact at the center of it, and they have to figure out what the hell's going on. Then we have Contamination by John Vornholt. This is another Star Trek The Next Generation book. A scientist is murdered on the Enterprise, and Troy and Worf investigate. So it's a sci-fi mystery. I'm sure there's a B story, maybe even a C story. Next up, Vendetta by Peter David. This one is a Star Trek The Next Generation giant novel. So, I don't know, an extra 100 pages, more than normal. Let's see, this is a Borg story. And the Enterprise encounters a character named Delcara, who is the lone survivor of a Borg attack. The Borg has wiped out all of Delcara's people. And Delcara wants revenge, but their means of getting revenge may be worse than what the Borg are doing. And the Enterprise and their crew have to, do their thing. I will mention Peter David, my favorite Star Trek writer. I love Peter David. And I believe I was reading these before I discovered that he was a comic book writer. Love his comic book stuff. Love his Star Trek stuff. Love his original stuff. Just a great, great writer. Then we have Boogeyman by Mel Gildon. Another Star Trek The Next Generation book. So Picard has this old friend who has asked for a favor. He wants Picard to wipe out any evidence of his existence. And there are assassins on the ship and craziness going on, and there may be an alien mastermind or aliens masterminding whatever is going on the ship. Next is Reunion by William Jan Friedman. And this is Star Trek The Next Generation, the first ever Star Trek The Next Generation hardcover novel. And, excuse me, this is about Picard having a reunion with crewmates from the USS Stargazer, and there's an assassin killing them off. So, of course, Picard has to figure out what's going on and put a stop to it. A lot of assassins in Star Trek The Next Generation. Then we have Tech Lords by William Shatner. I think I was reading these tech books in order, so this would be number 2. And this one, let's see. Jake Cardigan, our ex-cop Jake Cardigan, is investigating brutal murders and a synthetic plague, and how they tie together, and what they have to do with the drug tech. Then we have Strike Zone by Peter David, Star Trek The Next Generation, and the Enterprise gets involved because the Klingons seem to be at war with this peaceful race, the Kantovs, whatever they're called. As always, Enterprise has to figure out what's going on to put a stop to it. It's another Peter David, so I'm sure it was good. Metamorphosis by Gene Laura. And I had to go to a different page on my notes. Star Trek's The Next Generation. This is the first of those giant novels. And Data goes to this planet where he believes he can become a flesh and blood human being. Is it going to happen? Of course not. But Gene Laura is going to take us through an adventure. A giant adventure. Then we have Tech Lab by William Shatner. And an assassin or serial killer, depending on what you read, is killing civil servants all around the world. Jake Cardigan has to figure out who it is, how to stop them, and what it has to do with the tech lords and the tech drug business. And then finally, something completely different, and I'm going to butcher this poor person's name. We have The Empty Mirror, which is a nonfiction book by Jan Willem van de Vettering, or however you say the author's name. I'd read a bunch of fiction mysteries that this author wrote. This is a memoir about the author's 1.5 years spent in a Japanese monastery. Very interesting. The first in essentially a trilogy of memoirs. The second one is coming up next month. And I don't know if I ever read the third, but being a student of Eastern philosophy, I found this very interesting. That's it. 18 books. I just plowed through that. And I assume, I'm sure you figured out the theme running through most, which was Star Trek The Next Generation. I'm assuming that most, if not all of these, were library books. Which again reinforces my thought that I was not working at this time. Because if I was working at night, I'd have been sleeping during the day when the library was open. But apparently I had plenty of time to go to the library and get books out and read them. Yeah, so that's it. Man, that's a lot of books. And looking at February, I haven't looked at everything there, but man, that looks like another 18 or 19 books in February. So, we will see. Question for this video. I think I have to go with a Star Trek question. So, excuse me, we'll start with, if you watch Star Trek, ever have watched Star Trek, which series is your favorite? Of course, we have the original, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise. Now we have Discovery, Picard, the Lower Decks cartoon. There was an original series cartoon. There's another animated series that I believe is on now. I can't remember the name of it. It's got Captain Janeway from Voyager. So of all the Star Trek series, what's your favorite? And feel free to throw in, I don't know, favorite characters or whatever. I would have to go with, man, it's a tough call because I grew up watching the original series. It's classic to me. It has one of my favorite episodes. A few of my favorite episodes. Arena, which is the one where Captain Kirk fights the Gorn. Um, Trouble with Tribbles, always a favorite. And then, I can't remember the name of it. It's on the tip of my brain, but it's the time travel one with Joan Collins in it. Um, Planet on the Edge of Forever? City on the Edge of Forever. City on the Edge of Forever. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Just a great, great episode. Original screenplay by Harlan Ellison, but they made tons and tons of changes. I believe I've read Harlan Ellison's original screenplay. So yeah, I tend to say original series, but of course I was watching that in the reruns. I was there when Next Generation came out. I was in California, in the Air Force, and there were enough of my buddies were Star Trek fans that it was must see TV. We were there. If we weren't working, we were there watching the episodes as they aired live, making comparisons between each episode and the original series. So I think, at least at a technical level, Next Generation's the better show. Probably a writing level as well, acting, all of that. But original series has a special place in my heart. Deep Space Nine, I watched a season, maybe, or maybe a little more. Wasn't super into that show, although I did make it a point to watch the episode where they crossed over with The Trouble with Tribbles. They did like a Forrest Gump, and some of the crew from Deep Space Nine were put into the Trouble with Tribbles episode, which was a lot of fun. Don't even know if I made it through a season of Voyager. I've only seen a couple of episodes of Enterprise. Seen the first episode of Lower Decks, thought it was great. I'd love to see more of that, but I don't have, what is that, Paramount Plus that it's on. I've seen the first episode of Discovery, because I think it was free on YouTube when the show started. But that's all I've seen, because again, I don't have Paramount Plus, and I was not thrilled with it. I had a lot of problems with the first episode of Discovery. I did not think the storytelling was that great. There was a lot of, if I remember correctly, a lot of very convenient coincidences or things. But I know people that like it. That's just me talking about all the Star Trek shows. Not even getting into the movies. Although I guess, let's say, even though there's no series, we'll throw in the Kelvin timeline. So if you want to choose as your favorite the J.J. Abrams, the 3 movies, I've only seen the first 2. You can throw that in if you like. There's novels, there's comics, there's all sorts of stuff. So if that's your choice, maybe for you young folk who aren't as familiar with all the other stuff, you can throw those 3 movies in as your favorite. Mirror Universe episode, the original series. Can't remember what the episode's called, but Love Evil Spock. I have 1, 2, 3 Evil Spock figures, different types of figures. There's a lot of current Mirror Universe comics being done. There were Mirror Universe novels that were written. Just like the idea, as always, of alternate versions of things. All right, that's a lot of Star Trek rambling. But there you go, January 1992. 18 books, most of them Star Trek. And I'm sure we're going to see plenty more Star Trek moving along through the years. There you go. So let me know what Star Trek you like. Leave that in the comments below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. If you know the ghostwriter of the tech books that William Shatner wrote, throw that down in the comments. Did I already do the comments, questions, corrections? Yeah, that's what I'm in the middle of. So please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd care to follow me on other social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram, where I post pictures of books, comic books, board games, and fuzzy animals, is EricSmith5757. That's Eric with a K. ErikSmith5757. That's all I've got for you this time, so until next time, read more books.